Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Elliot, I'm 22 years old and I'm a media student.
Cool. So, Elliot, can you please share the last time you felt like someone genuinely listened to you?
Um, I'd say last term, when I was going through a particularly rough patch for my mental health, and it was nice to have. I was at a point where I just needed to kind of reach out, and a close friend of mine, she sort of went out with me for the evening and kind of hung out with me, and it was like just a really good moment because it was a time when I just needed a friend, and just having kind of casual support and someone to like kind of communicate with and kind of listen to was really touching and kind of showed like an immense amount of empathy towards me. So I guess that's the most recent kind of example I can think of.
And how did that make you feel? Someone, that friend, letting you confide into them.
It just, I suppose, made me feel validated in my feelings and kind of seen, because I feel like it's an important part of life is kind of communication through empathy, because I think empathy is just incredibly important and kind of is what ties us together as people, because we all kind of have conflicts and things we're facing, and showing empathy to one another, it really validates, makes you feel better. So I just remember feeling really touched by it.
Is that something you like? You try and find in the people around you and try to show every day. Would you say?
Definitely. I think it's just vital. It's important in forming any kind of relationship with anyone in any kind of circumstance. I think empathy is kind of the most important kind of, I guess, like currency we have in life, really, is to just how much empathy we share to one another.
Can you tell me a time where you kind of, an instance where you understood the importance of that?
Of just general empathy.
Yeah, because you said like you think it's like the most important like currency, you said. So what was it that made you reach that conclusion, that it's so important?
Well, I think kind of looking at the context of my background, I grew up in a strict Catholic school, and it was an environment where I was felt like there was like a lack of empathy and like an overwhelming kind of hostility, which creates kind of social boundary, social kind of barricades, because people are lacking a certain sense of empathy due to like their strict nature and like kind of an authoritative mindset. So growing up, I kind of didn't see a lot of that empathy from a lot of people. So I feel like just growing up and like meeting more empathetic people made me like realize how important it actually is.
Would you say if if everyone exercised that trait, I can't cliche, but would you say that it would be a better place to be in?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Like I said, empathy is to me the most important thing in life. Essentially, I mean it's the best thing we have. I think a lack of empathy is a lack of humanity. So I think that kind of in a perfect world we'd all have an immense amount of empathy for each other.
Okay. And when do you think the last time you shown that same connection to someone else who like confided into you?
Well, I think was just returning the favor to a friend, because empathy and kind of empathy, much like trust, is like a two-way street. So if someone, if you confide in someone, it's only right that they can confide in you comfortably. So I think a situation where I'm confiding in a friend, and in return, when they're in a kind of rough spot or going through something quite emotional, just being able to offer kind of a shoulder to lean on, or an ear to like talk to, is just very important.
Can you talk about the last time that happened?
Well, I remember when one of my friends was struggling with trying to find work. So she was in a position where she was applying for a lot of places, and wasn't finding anywhere, and wanted to get their career started, and I think was in quite an emotional, tough spot because she felt like she was hitting a dead end, kind of no motivation. And this was a close friend who is always like been really supportive towards me. So I remember just being in a situation of kind of essentially psyching my friend up and kind of giving her the support and motivation she needed to kind of take that next step to like try and find work and kind of find her motivation to like have a place essentially. And it turned out for the best because she got a good job, and it was a nice relief to show that like my comfort and my sort of motivation and support helped someone in a way externally.
And how did that make you feel, being able to extend that same connection to your friend?
It felt really good. It felt really like rewarding, and it's like a strangely like selfless thing, because I think when someone is so good to you, it's only right you're almost twice as good back to them. In a way, it's sort of exercising empathy and kind of returning the favor. So it just made me feel very, just very good. Not necessarily about myself, but for them, I suppose.
Okay. And last question, just to sum everything up. What, in your opinion, what do you think your definition of empathy is?
I think my definition of empathy is essentially an awareness and understanding of other people and their emotions, beyond just you and your own perspective, because we can get so lost in our own kind of heads that it can be hard to kind of remember that everyone else is kind of going through their own things. There's a multi-layered person too. So I think just my kind of baseline definition of empathy is just being able to understand the people around you, and not just understand, but then actually care and actively support them.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
I don't care about